Okay, welcome everybody. Some of you guys I've seen many times, some of you guys that I haven't seen in a while, and there are some new names here. So, welcome, first of all, to this Monday night rookie roundtable call. We've been running this for over 2 years. It's amazing. So, over 3,000 people last year have come through here. Normally what we do is we pick a topic, we talk about this topic, we have Q&As. Sometimes I bring on some speakers that I feel in alignment with, right? That I feel like their message gets to be shared on this platform here. And then we break people out into rooms for a networking session afterwards. So I have a great question for you guys to ask when you guys break out. And that question is going to be, what is my unreasonable ask? So that's going to be at the very end of this call, that you guys get to break out and meet people there. So I believe more people will probably be joining in as this call goes on. Thank you all for being here on time and for the beginning of this. So recently, maybe not recently, but at least for the past year, there's been so much uncertainty in the debt market, in that space. And we really get to look into that, right? We're kind of just being told this is why interest rates are up. We have this because we're combating inflation. I just, all these things. Oh wait, here, let me put the link. Sorry, real quick. I'll just put the link in the chat. So if you have people you want to invite also, and that's asking, here is the link to it. Okay, so why the economy is the way it is, and if we understand the relationships of how our government borrows money, our government spends money, where does it come from, who and what is the Federal Reserve, what are all these relationships with all these banks, maybe we can come up with a hypothesis that actually logically makes sense. So definitely would love to hear everyone else's opinions too in this space. But today I'm going to share one idea that I think people may or may not agree with. I think, the 10-year treasury is what people mostly compare to see if interest rates are higher or lower. So I'll talk about what all that means in a little bit. But typically, what the Federal Reserve sets as the 10-year treasury interest rate, the private lenders come in and add a couple points to that, and that becomes your loan for your home, for your business, for your card, for your credit cards, all of that. All right, so how does this all relate? Is there a scenario in which the 10-year treasury comes down in interest rate and there is still an increase in interest for the rest of the people? So that is something that I would love to explore and get everyone's feedback on today. And after I share my opinion about it first, right? Like my logic of why I think that is going to happen and why I do think interest rates are still on its way up, even though most people say, oh, there's going to be relief and it's going to come down. It's already coming down. I think it's all kind of like smokescreen. Okay, so from what I learn, and I read a lot and I study a lot, and I've learned a lot about the banking industry. I've always been kind of like a conspiracy theorist. So I learned a lot about how the Federal Reserve was created. I listened to a lot of Robert Kiyosaki, growing up. So there is that aspect of it. But it's always good for us to prepare for like a worst case scenario, right? And when that doesn't happen, awesome. We can all be joyful that it didn't happen. However, based on what I know and what I've learned and read in all these years about our financial institution and the global economy, everything is kind of like on House of Cards, right? Like the solution is print more money, and you print more money, then you try to fight it and you try to fight inflation, but you're just printing more money. But then you can't let every business fail. You can't let a recession happen during a presidential election year. I don't know what all the agenda is, right? But there is fundamentals that we can look at so we can prepare for what could be coming next. All right, so a couple things just to share is, number one, We all know that commercial loans and loans in general have a maturity date. What maturity date means is your loan is due. It must trade. That loan must trade on this date. So a lot of people in the commercial space in the last 2-3 years have got short-term, variable adjustable rates. So they think they're going in at 5% and interest rates go up to 11, 12. You see a lot of people in trouble, right? And then their loan comes due, maturity, your loan comes due. You can't cover the interest payments, and your new refinance that you have to trade on this loan does not equate to what you already have. So you're in a negative, you're in the red. Okay, so that's one of the problems that's happening. Now, why is that a problem? Because there is, I think, $500 billion worth coming due this year. Okay, just in the commercial sector side. Now, who does it affect? You have your regional and smaller banks, and then you have your monster banks, the big guys, right? What the big guys probably want is less people at the table to make decisions. Okay, so consolidation is what the big guys want. The big banks, a couple years ago, I think sometime in 2019-ish, they stopped they stopped lending out on commercial real estate. A lot of it. They started to lower their portfolio in that asset class itself. Who picks it up? The opportunity is like, ooh, all the small banks, like, now we can pick it up. So they've brought their asset class on the commercial real estate side. Some banks are over 50%. Now, this market is 100% taking a hit. Evaluations come down, and when the evaluations is down, all the bank ledgers show a negative, show a loss. Okay, so what happened last year, just to kind of sum up last week's call, is we talked about the bailout program. Okay, I'm going to call it what it is. It's this bank term funding program that they came out with after Silicon Valley went down, which says you can borrow money because banks will go down just like Silicon Valley if people come to the bank and say we want our money back and they don't have it because the bank went and over leveraged and bought a bunch of other things. So some of the things that banks buy is they buy T-bills, the treasury bills, and they have the 5-year, they have the 2-year, 5-year, 10-year, 20-year, 30 years. They do an auction. This is how government raises money. So the small banks have all these assets that are in the commercial space. The evaluation is lower. Okay. Also, another factor here is in 2020, Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, came out and said, I do not see any increases in interest rates in the foreseeable future. Okay. Even Grant Cardone 2-3 years ago also predicted interest rates were not going to go up. Okay, he thought it was going to stay right there. Now, it doesn't matter how much experience you have. Something like this, most of the times, is the way that the economic things work is whatever most people believe, the opposite kind of happens. That's the way the wealthy continues to get wealthy and everyone else gets stuck holding the bag. That's what it's called. Right. So anyways, nobody believed that interest rates were going to come up. So the banks go and buy these T-bills, okay, long-term T-bills, which when interest rates go up, T-bill value goes down. When interest rates go down, T-bill values go up. All right, they have an inverse relationship. So now these banks, the interest rates went up. The value of their asset class in the commercial space went down, plus the T-bills, which is supposed to be a guaranteed return for them, also went down. Now, on paper, these banks are in the negatives, billions of dollars. Okay, just for perspective's sake, $1.8 billion negative took Silicon Valley out of the picture. Silicon Valley Bank went down $1.8 billion. Okay, so this, back to this loan real quick. This loan that the government gave is, you can borrow money from us and you can use all of your assets as collateral for very small interest rate. And we're going to give you the top level evaluation is what you loaned the money out at. and what you bought the T-bills at. You see how there's a problem here already, that they're giving you a loan based on an the coming in evaluation, not the as is evaluation. That means all these banks are overinflated. They have negative value for their assets, and they're now over leveraging and they're borrowing money against fake equity that they have. Now, some of the banks got smart and was like, we have shareholders, so what we need to do is borrow more of this money and use it to lend, of course, so they can get more money in their as income, right? Because they were able to borrow that and then now they lend it. Federal Reserve goes, oh, okay, well, you guys are going to do that. It ends. So March 11th, last week, on Monday when we had this call, it ended. What that means is the ability for banks to get funding ended. So kind of to put that into more perspective, when you lose your job, at what point do you stop paying for your car, your credit cards, your whatever else, right? That level. So banks now have just had this problem. They just lost their job. Their income source is gone. What I believe will happen is consolidation. The big banks, they knew this was coming. They probably set it all up. This is the conspiracy side of me talking. So take this with a grain of salt. It is not the truth, but this is just my opinion about it. Big banks, what do they want? Less people at the table. Less people at the table so they can make decisions easier and faster. They don't need all these little banks here having little their voices and their opinions, right? So they go under. Big banks come in and say, yeah, we'll take all their assets and liabilities, but hey, government, in order for us to do this, you have to cover the losses here, because they don't want to take it. We could let it go and the entire economy can just go down, or you print more money, borrow more money, give it to us, and we do this, right? So that is what that's what a bailout looks like. And we saw this in 2008. We've seen this since they started printing money. This was just another way for them to do it again with this bank term funding program. All right, so I want everybody to just know this, right? So you know, like, kind of what's going on in the market. So that's why we're here at this point right now. Second is, just like banks have their loans coming due, the government also has loans that mature. That means they have to pay it back. So the government right now is somewhere around $34 trillion in debt. That's the US, right? Almost $9 trillion of that money is maturing this year. We have a negative $1.4 trillion deficit. That means the government is spending $1.4 trillion more than what they've collected in taxes. And they do this every single year. This is the thing. Like, they are worse with their money than anybody right out there. No wonder why we all behave the same way, because that's how the government behaves. So they have to now borrow 10 trillion plus this year, even though it's only 1.4 trillion deficit. Right? Even if they were at zero, even if they spent exactly how much that they made, they still have to borrow $9 trillion just because their loan is coming due. Now, where do they get this money? So the treasury of the government is the kind of bookkeeper and the financial decision makers. So they print something called a T-bill, and the T-bills, they give you they do an auction. So they're like, we need $1 trillion for this 2-year treasury bill. First comes the regular investors. We can say we'll take it at 4%. So you buy these cash equivalent T-bills, right? You put $100 in, you get $4 every year. If you have hundreds of millions of dollars, that's a great return, and you're okay with it. But if you're just leveraging it, that's a different story. If you're just needing it as a quick thing, that's a different story. You're going to get into trouble if that number shifts. Just like right now, interest rates went up. Those T-bills that were bought last year and the year before, they're worth 75, 85, 90 cents on the dollar. And that 10% loss on billions of dollars is a huge amount, right? So now they auction. They do an auction. So far, they've closed every auction up to this point. So The investors come in, they'll take 4%. Institutions come in and say, we'll take 4.03%. Then international money comes in and says, we'll do it at 4.07%. Whatever the case is, the thing about these auctions is it doesn't matter what you got in at. What matters is what was that end number. So if it started at 4 and it finished at 4.05 or 4.06, there's a 5 to 6 basis points difference. And the higher that number is, it shows the confidence of the economy as a whole, right? That's called the tail. So we don't really need to understand that, but that's how the government raises money. The government raises money by selling an IOU with interest to the bank. And the bank kind of sells that back to the Federal Reserve. And that's how the money kind of circulates, right? So the bank plays like middleman, because at the end of the day, what happens is the Federal Reserve holds all the notes from the government lending. Okay, and then they're like, okay, this is due. So the Federal Reserve right now says, we don't want to increase our balance sheet. We want to decrease it. That means less liquidity comes into the market. Now, this year, the government is going to need to raise $10 trillion for their loans that are coming due, plus their deficit. So what I see is possible is the Federal Reserve, again, opens up and decides, we're going to give you this money at this percentage. You can go and sell it back to the bank and whatever, and then we do a full circle thing again, right? But even if they said, we're going to give you cheaper rates, so the government can borrow money cheaper, when it comes back out to the banks and the private sector, people are going to need to make money. All this cash injection coming in is going to increase your living costs. Everything inflates in value, right? And in order for the private sector and the banks to keep up, they have to charge more points on top of what they're getting it at. So this is why I believe even if the Federal Reserve gives them a lower interest, and you see the T-bills coming in at a lower percentage, the interest rate for us at the end, as the end consumers, could end up becoming much higher because the liquidity that's available in the market is not there. And that's why I think interest rates will continue to go up, especially when these smaller banks start to fold. And unless they just come out with another program and flat out bails out all these smaller banks, because it's, I don't know, election year. They don't want all this craziness to happen. Or maybe they do. I don't know. Right? We don't know the agenda. This is why some of the past history stuff, we can't really relate it to right now because there's different things happening right now. But there is a cycle that money kind of follows when you do something and there's an outcome. Right? There's a cause and an effect that is just inevitable. It happens. You put more money into the market, inflation happens as a result, and then your eggs, your gas, your milk, everything goes up in price. And in order for us to afford that, we have to go and lend money at a higher rate. We have to add another point to it so it makes sense for us. Right? We're not the government. We don't have unlimited amount of money that just comes in even though we make bad decisions. Right. And, I don't even know if they're making bad decisions. I love the country that we live in. I think the infrastructure is, great compared to other places I've gone in the world. So they're doing something right. I don't know. But in this, how it affects all of us, I think, Foti was here earlier. He's still here. He said what we need to do is we need to start to talk to investors and educate people in general. This is why I want everyone to be educated. Because everyone else that is not having this conversation here tonight is listening to everything that's happening in the news, which is what they project and what they want you to know, what they want you to think. The reason why people make some people, the big institutions, make the most amount of money during a down market is because everything's on sale. And they get to pick because everyone else is too scared to be in. Right? So yes, I do believe when the market is going down, that's when we get to participate and we really get to, bind together, create the confidence, by being in communities together as tribes, right? And doing it together. I think that's really important. And I personally really believe that family offices and private equity is going to come and really rescue the economy. We'll see. We'll see if that happens, but they're going to have to come in and save some of the deals, right? Just because a bank says we're going to give you 55% loan to value on your property does not mean that that's what the property deserves. It probably underwrites for 70. But the bank's like, we don't got that much money, so we're just going to pick and choose. Somebody else is going to do that, right? All right, Foti, is great seeing you, brother. Thank you for hopping on. So private money from family offices, especially when they're specialized in certain locations, they can say, "Hey, we'll cover this." Right? You don't have to lose this deal. It saves the deal, it saves the operator from defaulting, and it saves the bank from getting a bad piece of real estate or a defaulted real estate, which they do not want. All right. So this is what I believe is necessary. And I think everyone gets to start to have this conversation in today's market, specifically with so much uncertainty. Everyone should be doubling down on education and having these conversations, right? Not listening to the news more, right? And getting to a more fearful state, not to propel the, oh my God, the sky is falling type of conversation, because that doesn't help you at all. You focus on that, what happens is you just end up missing the boat and you're like, wait, what happened? Was there a sale? How did these people make all this money? Right? Anybody that has a large amount of doors in real estate, they made a huge coming out of the 2008, 2009. I caught the end of that by accident. I came out of college, bought a property for 220 on its way up, went to 660 in 2.5 years. And then there I go. I accidentally, I had a lot of learning, a lot of YouTube. Actually, no, YouTube wasn't even available then. But I did go through Robert Kiyosaki's Out of the Rat Race personal program. I learned a lot and networked with a little group of people that I knew was doing real estate, but most of them were not investors. And most of them didn't learn from the previous recession either. So at the very least, have a commitment to come out of this market in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years with so much knowledge and so much understanding of the economy as a whole, that every decision you make moving forward in the future, when you buy real estate, when you get debt, when you invest in businesses, that you can see the future. Right? When I buy real estate, I feel like I can see the future. I've been in it for so long, so I feel like I can see the future sometimes, and I get it. So, and it helps understanding the bigger picture. I can go into a whole story of how banks were formed, but you guys can kind of just YouTube that online, right? Somebody came with gold coins and they're like, okay, well, here, you're trustworthy. Give me a note saying that when I come back with these coins, you'll give me this note, you'll give me these coins back. Then they just stopped trading coins. They just started trading the IOU papers. And then at some point, it was so out of control that the government said, nope, nobody's getting their gold coins back. We're just going to give you more paper. And so that's where we are today. Okay, so that's kind of the short story. And every single time the banking institution fails when enough people comes back and says, here is my paper, can I get my coins back? Because the bank says, oh, they can just play with the papers and trade that back and forth. So we'll leverage. We don't need to have all the coins in our bank here. What we can do is, without that much risk, we can take your one coin and lend it out 10 times because it's all paper anyways. And so that's the over leveraging. And so if 10% of the people goes to the bank and say, I want my money back, the bank will fail immediately. All right. So that's the whole kind of more of just what's going on in the banks. I think this is a super important conversation. I hope more people become more aware of it, start talking about it. So yeah, I will kind of pause there. I know I just went on like a 30-minute tangent. So I always like to drink some water and give people a chance to share your thoughts about all this. What do you think? What are your thoughts? This is just one person's opinion here. What are you guys hearing about it? All right, Fraser, go ahead. Thank you for being so brave, brother.
Recently, I just saw a thing with Robert Kiyosaki saying that we're in the biggest bubble that there's ever been in history.
Yep. He literally says that every single year, but possibly he's right this year. Yeah. I mean, we can see a lot of signs, you know, and I don't believe everything I see. That's just my take, you know. And also for everyone else, like if you have a chance to share and speak in front of a group of people, should always take it. Rachel, of course, I knew you were gonna raise your hand. What's up?
I think you asked for me to talk. Basically, you're just
Uh
saying,
huh.
Rachel, come and talk to us.
That's
No,
it.
I'm kidding. So I want your opinion on something I heard this weekend that Grant was talking about.
Yep.
Um, that everything the grid's gonna shut down. Some negative feedback from him. I want your opinion, Alex.
I will give my opinion. What's the question? The
There
shutdown, you
was no
said?
real question. It was your opinion of that kind of a statement right now in today's society. Is that something that you think is possible in the near future? Yes,
Of
that's the
what
question.
happened? Sorry, I missed the statement. I was looking at a text thing.
Yeah, my daughter's home for the week. You know, March. The kids come home and they drive you crazy. Sorry for the background noise. Um, basically, my question is: do you think there's going to be a shutdown in the near future for electronics, technology, etc., or is he just blowing smoke up our behinds?
Who's saying that? Grant?
Grant.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I actually don't know Grant to be part of that type of conversation, but I don't believe so. I think we've gone too far that there's no way. Like they're going to print more money if that's the case, right? Like there's no reason to even let it get to that point. So, you know, maybe the answer is just printing more money and we can handle it, right? Maybe we can just all handle having more money and keep having the inflations go up and we just live with it. Um Now, of course, when that happens, things have to follow inflation, right? Like when inflation goes up and the cost of living gets higher, the wages have to go up in accordance to it. That's the way printing money could work, but it doesn't. There's too many people skimming off the top, which as soon as money is printed, a whole 80% of that probably is already skimmed off the top. And then you get the rest of it coming for aid. Like it's super dumb, I think. Now, probably Nick, you're learning this in school, in high school? What are you learning in there?
I'm taking AP Macro
Okay.
Economics.
All right,
So
tell me. Tell me
we're
more.
learning about all of this. Like how, well, they don't do it anymore, but banks used to have a reserve requirement where you had to like keep 10% reserves. And
Uh-huh.
how like now like the feds will actually take that money and they'll pay you a discount rate. So banks like have a different way they were doing it, but we've learned like how like banks balance their books and how like they leverage bonds.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool, and it's similar to what you're talking about.
And it's
So
just so funny if that
it is.
if the government's books or the bank's books look like our books, like it would
No,
just
no,
be we would not be qualified for anything.
no. Like if
It would be
because
like
like
you're the highest risk person ever, and our government and our banks behave that way. It's insanity.
it's so weird how money works. Because like when the bank lends out money, let's say they lend out like 900 bucks,
Hmm,
and then
hmm.
someone else takes it and deposits it into their savings account because like that's who they lended it to, and then the next bank can lend that too. So even though there's only like $900 originally, you can just like create more and more money,
I know.
even
So
though it's
is
like
I mean
nothing.
that is the exact reason why they believe, you know, people believe everything's on House of Cards. Because how do you take a $900 deposit and lend that out 10 times?
Yeah.
And it's just numbers being changed, and then we just listen. We're just like, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, good job. And we just follow along. Now, I'm not saying we can actually do something about that, but I'm saying if you learn the game, You could become financially successful by learning the game and playing the game. First, play the game, build up your influence, impact the things you want to impact in your life. That is my belief, I think. But learning the game itself, right? People are trying to play a different sport as a whole. Like, don't fight it. You're not going to win against the bank or the Federal Reserve or the government. So you might as well learn the rules of the game, right? Put your energy to that. So let me, Claudia's got a question. So I want to bring her up. She says, I have a question. You got to unmute yourself, though. I love your enthusiasm and your flower thing, but
I didn't even realize my video was on. Okay, so yeah, I've been doing real estate for 11 years, and I feel like 98% of my clients are waiting for the market to crash and they're all ready to buy. They have cash reserves, they're ready to invest. So, going back to basic economics, supply and demand, if the market does come down, but there's so much demand, is that going to keep prices inflated, or are we going to have those deals kind of similar to 2008? Like, I don't think they're going to be that low because of the demand and people having cash reserves and money.
Yep.
So kind of where your head's at.
I don't think this affects the residential market as much. Okay, now when the whole thing comes collapsing, it will affect everything. But most residential people that own either single families or whatever, they have rates locked in for 30 years. You know, if you have a 2.5% interest rate, even if you got 300,000 extra on your property, there is no reason why you would want to sell that. Right? Because where are you going to go to with next? The next thing you buy is going to be a 7+ interest rate, maybe more now. And now you're buying a property at $300,000 less than what it was worth, right? So you're kind of the same thing is happening. I think supply and demand will keep that place inflated. And I do think a lot of people are waiting. I think waiting is actually the right play for once. But if you're trying to time the market, that's a mistake. I think you should be looking right now. You should be understanding every single day that goes by and every month that goes by. You should be looking at deals, and then you should be looking at the market and what's going on. And then you want time to show you, oh, would that have been a good purchase at that point? And then why? What was happening in the market that would have this be what was going to be a great purchase? So minimum, you want to learn from what you're even looking at. Most people just are kind of in this automation of just underwriting deals, plugging this thing in. No, it's no good. See you later. The bye-bye deal, right? But why? How is it a good deal? If you love the deal, how do you make it work? You know, I was just sharing with the teens right before this call. For me, when I ask my CPA questions, I don't say, hey, can I get a write-off on this watch? Can I get a write-off on the blackjack table? I ask, how is there a scenario, or how can that be a write-off? Because if I simply ask, is this watch a write-off? The answer is no. Is the blackjack table a write-off? The answer is no. However, when you ask the how question, that now becomes creative. And this is what we should be doing with real estate, because there is scenarios in which my blackjack loss is a tax write-off. There is a scenario in which my watch is a write-off. And I'm just going to position myself into that for this year, so I get all the write-offs that I need. All right, so taxes play a huge role. Okay, not that I'm looking for loopholes or dodging, but I'm legitimately doing something that actually I pay way more taxes than the average person on their income, because of the properties and everything that we own, businesses and real estate, right? So I think supply and demand is going to keep the residential value up, but this economic downturn has to do with all commercial real estate.
Because multifamilies are essentially residential.
Oh,
Well, I mean, they're commercial.
4
but
units and under.
yeah, because I thought it was just going to affect like warehouses and office buildings and malls and buildings like that. But what's your reasoning for multifamily coming down in value?
So all commercial loans, warehouse, hotels, multifamily, anything more than 4 units, they fall into a commercial loan. Commercial loans are typically 2, 3, 5, 7, 10 years max. 10 years max. Nobody even does 10 years because no investors will tolerate 10 years. Because that's the problem. Everybody is in this, like, there's a whole 3 years of short-term thinking, 2x returns guaranteed on your money in 3 years, things like that. And that's very aggressive. And in order to get those returns, you actually have to say, all right, I'm going to get this loan right here, but I only want it for 3 years. That way I can refinance out of it without a prepayment penalty. Right? So now they're opting for a shorter term loan, and then all of a sudden the market goes in the direction that we're at now, and their loans are coming due. None of the residential spaces, their loans are coming due. They got decades to go. They can sit and wait. Commercial, they can't. All right. So I'll give you a very quick example. Okay, go ahead. You go first.
Do you think those multifamily loans will become assumable, or will they just fall and then go on sale and then you buy them with private money? Because the multifamily rates will be very high. I think what are they at right now? Like 12%?
I mean, if you're on adjustable, but like the perm long-term debt, you're probably looking, if you're under 13 million, 6% plus at least. All right. And if you have the tier 1, 25 million, 50 million plus deals, you may be able to find deals in the fives. But that's also history. Like, that just happened recently, but it's already going up, like today. All right. So let me just give you a quick example of why the multifamily market is in where it's at. So I give this example sometimes. $10 million real estate multifamily that you bought. Okay. You bought it at 70% leverage. It gave you 70% LTV. So you put 3 million down. They gave you 7 million. In 2 years, your loan is coming due. Let's say we fast forward 2 years and we are here. Our loan is due. I got to refinance. I have to trade. It's not like I can just hold on to the same loan. It's due. And if I go and refinance, I'm going to get a loan with higher interest rate, and the bank saying we're going to give you less leverage. So same $10 million deal. Let's say you didn't even lose any value. You did a great job. Your deal is doing amazing, but the bank says, hey, it's time to refinance. We can only give you 55% LTV. You have a $7 million loan on this property. 55% LTV is 5.5 million. You did nothing wrong. The deal is doing great. If you had the same loan, this deal would be awesome. But now you need $1.5 million just to refinance at a worse interest rate now. Right? So that is why commercial real estate is in trouble. Now, also, assumptions, loan assumptions. Also, it's great in the short term, but if you look long term, if you assume a loan, let's say you're like, oh man, it's amazing, 3% interest rate. What you're doing is you're buying yesterday's value. You're buying yesterday's value, because when the loan comes due for this deal and the interest rates are higher, anything that you've added to this property to increase its value, because the interest rates are at where it's at, you lose that much of a percentage. You lose that much already. So assuming a loan, actually, it's good if you love the property. If you're just going to keep it, you love it, you believe in this area, you just love the property, then okay, do whatever it takes to get the property. However, if you're just trying to make the numbers work and you're willing to go anywhere, you're like, ooh, it's a great loan assumption, I would be very cautious about loan assumptions, because what happens is you're buying yesterday's numbers. They got the loan yesterday or 2 years ago at that value, and it seems like it's good for you because you got like 4 or 5 years left. But what happens when you have to exit a 3%, 4% interest rate loan that your deal is cash flowing, and all of a sudden you have to refinance into 7 or 8%? You're going to be underwater immediately. You won't be able to sell the deal. You can't get the type of returns that you want. Now, if you're keeping it long term, and that's the way you're thinking, I think that makes the deal good. So look at deals like, do you love this deal long term? Do you love this location long term? And then figure out whatever it takes to buy it. But if you just look at deals, I see so many people saying that, oh, we got this, we assumed a loan. Awesome. Like, you bought yesterday's price. Right? It could be great if you love the property, but it would be really detrimental if you were just trying to get returns, because the numbers will not be that when you exit. Okay, now if you can buy a property and make sense of the numbers right now at 7% and the deal works, if interest rates come down, your property immediately captures that much more valuations doing nothing. All right, so now here's the problem. We're all trying to underwrite and make deals make sense at 7% interest rate, and no deals are penciling out. We get this part. Yes, if you give me your deal and it pencils out a 7% interest rate, let me buy it. I mean, they'll be like, yeah, let me buy it back from myself at that number, right? So that's, if you can find that, awesome. But if you can't, I personally believe right now is figure out how to get cash, figure out how to network with more people that have access to cash, and learn about what's going on in the market. Because there is a time that is going to come where things will come up for sale. Now, if you're focused on the wrong things from now to then, blaming this and focusing on the media and this and that doesn't really help you at all, you're going to miss the boat. But if you're having these conversations and you're in the right rooms and you're talking to the right people, that's where, when that time comes, you'll know. Because it would logically make sense. You will see the things happening. The numbers don't lie, right? But too many people are just listening to exactly what's being said by gurus, the media, all of that. Nobody really knows what's going on, but can we prepare ourselves by being in the conversation and meeting the right people? The highest level people that I've been sitting down with, because we're working with funds and top tier one private equity now, we've sat down with a lot of people that just, the conversation's very simple for them, and they understand what's going on, because at the highest level, this is what they want. They want consolidation, and they're purposely positioning themselves in such a way that allows things to fail so they can come and scoop it up. Why would BlackRock return all these offices and hotels back when they have infinite funding? Because they want some of these banks to feel that pressure, right? They're spread out across the board. They can afford to dish off 50 million, 100 million, 200 million dollar properties. Okay, because what they're going to do is, when the entire thing comes down, they come in with the same money and buy up 3 times what they would have bought in today's market. That's the type of thinking that we have to expand our minds to, so we can participate in what they're doing. We can grab some also. There's going to be leftovers for sure. But that's going to be for people that are ready. And then we can move our lives forward financially, and then we can help others do the same when we do it. Okay, by missing the boat, you just miss everything. Like, not being in the conversation, not being in the game, you miss everything. So, okay, wait, hold on. There was 2 people that had questions. So let me start with James. James, I know your hand was up, brother. So what's up?
Hey, how's it going, man? No, I was just going to add on to what you were saying, and especially in Florida. I'm analyzing deals, and they're not making lots of sense. A lot of older couples own a lot of property here in Central Florida, where I'm located. And for example, I was looking at a deal that had 10 units. Roof is destroyed. Units are not up to market conditions, and they're asking for $2 million for 10 units. Any way you pencil it, it does not work. Yeah. Any way you look at it, and the bank won't give you a loan for it because it's just not in the conditions for it. And they want $2 million for it. So I'm exactly what you're saying is actually really aligned with our positions. What we're doing, this year, we're saving up as much cash as we possibly can. We're looking for all the ways to save as much cash this year, because we don't know what's going to happen. Like you keep saying, which I love. We don't know when this bubble is going to pop, but it's going to happen. Florida is typically very strong in the real estate space, if you've done this. So I'm not too sure if when it pops, if Florida's going to react to it immediately. And if it does, it'll react a lot slower than the rest of the market. But just wanted to state that yeah, it's a waiting game for now.
Maybe or faster because everybody's been buying in Florida. You know, there's a just like Texas. Where is most of the deals defaulting right now? Texas.
Wow.
That is where all the deals are defaulting because in the last 2 years, everybody went in there and went crazy. Yes, Rakshanda, I will talk a little bit about crypto too. So before we go there, I do want to share that we are having an event this weekend. So let me make myself bigger so you guys can see this. Spotlight for everyone. Hello. Wow, that's big. So March 21st to 23rd, 360universities.com. There is a virtual that you can attend. And also, if you come to Vegas, okay, it's in a mansion. We have amazing speakers, okay, people that are just ridiculously awesome that you can meet in person. It's not a conference where there's thousands of people. It's in a mansion where we probably will have 75 to 100 people, and you will get to network. Okay, this is for real. This network is all caliber level people, C-suite people. We have the CCO of Caesars coming. Brad Blazer, who's raised $2 billion, is coming. Abdullah, who worked for Mark Wahlberg and now has like 7-8-figure companies and a massive, insane wholesale company that he's going to teach all of that too. So we're going to talk about private equity and the fund and how we're going to be funding people's deals. So actually on the first day, on the 21st, we're going to be funding deals. It's literally called Fund That Deal. Okay, we already have a bunch of people lined up that's pitching the deals, all different types of deals. So if you want to figure out how to get funded or what's our lending box, right? Because we're going to be showing people there that there are offers. Okay, there are things that are available to you on the debt side that is not available when you go to the broker of Marcus and Millichap or Cushman Wakefield or wherever. They're all shopping in the same department store, and I say this all the time because it's the same things. They're looking at the same agency, same CMBS and life insurance, and bridge loans. It's the same ones. It doesn't matter who you go to. They just go in there and they do that. It's the same department store. Okay, they're all able to kind of underwrite with those loans and those guidelines. What if I told you it was 3,000 other types of loans and capital stack that you can put a deal together with? That is something worth learning for sure, okay, to be at that event or at least attend virtually or something on the 21st so you can learn what is available. I mean, we have a debt product that is 100% loan to value, 100% loan to cost. That means if you're doing a development deal, your land purchase, your engineering, architecture work, all of that gets funded back to you on your loan to value, and the entire construction is loan to cost. What? Do you know if you can qualify for that? It will change your life, and it is a dream for experienced developers. After that loan, you get a line of credit. You can qualify for a line of credit, which is what my partner has provided for KB Homes, Toll Brothers, GL Homes. Okay, here is a $1.5 billion line of credit. Build what you need to build. You can lend the money to the end buyer of your houses, right? And you do whatever you want. You got 10 years. This is your 1.5 billion, 4%, 5% interest rate. Play with it. All right, that's the dream for a developer. A developer will no longer ever need to raise equity for a deal. That's crazy. All right, so can we get to that as fast as we can ourselves too? So I hope that you guys take advantage of this. It's I'm excited to be there. The link. It is on the 21st to the 23rd. It starts at 9 a.m. I think it's like 9 to 5, and then we have VIP dinners with some of the high level people that are going to be there. But okay, go ahead, Donna.
Hello.
Hello.
I have a question, hypothetical. Let's say you have two properties. Does it ever make sense to get one loan for like a consolidation loan?
It would be easier. However, if you go into a refinance and one property is doing worse than the other, you will have a problem. Right. So I'm talking about two commercial real estate assets, not two houses. Two houses doesn't really matter. But if you got two 80-unit apartment buildings, I would not put them together and make a 160-unit portfolio. All right. On the way in, it's easier. Okay, but what's easier on the way in is usually harder on the way out. That's just how it works. Does that make sense, Donna?
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. But and ask me how I know. We got a deal that is
How
two
do you know?
properties. Yeah, we got two deals that are together. Boom. And one deal is doing amazing. And if we refinance that one, we actually can get cash out. But the other deal itself is not doing as amazing. And if we did them combined together, lenders actually don't even want it. They're like, yeah, that one, we need another 3 to 6 months to see how it performs. Because it just didn't come up as fast. And so that's an issue, right? So Nick, can you stick the link? Oh, you did. Okay. Nick already put the link in the chat. So I will remove my spotlight and I will remove this plug now. But thank you guys for the patience in that. And we will return back to our conversation here. Go ahead, Nelson.
Well, going back to the plug, I signed up for the virtual because we got a spring break cruise that we had planned since last year, but I'm able to join on the 21st. Will the other days, will they be a recording that I'll be able to follow up?
Probably. I think so. Yeah.
I hope so. I'm my brother, and I'm sorry I miss you in person, but I'll be there the first day
well,
as much as I can from the ship.
Yeah.
Love you guys. Thank you.
Yes, Kalina also has a good point, and when you combine the deals, it's just a little bit more. It has more liability as well. All right, so yes, I would keep it separate. Who else had their hand up? I'm gonna put your hand down, Nelson. Okay, so what are the concerns? What questions do you guys have in terms of just, I don't know, my opinion, if you're entertaining it. We've only lost a couple people, so it must be somewhat entertaining. Go ahead, Nelson, since you're back. All right,
no, Alex, I'm sorry. I thought you asked me to lower my hand, but I raised it by accident again. Sorry, my bad. Okay. There we go. Thank you again.
You're good. All right, so anybody looking at deals, what challenges do you have right now? And I know how hard it is to raise capital from retail investors right now. So you better strap on, and if you're raising for a deal, start as soon as possible, right? And you need to be planting seeds everywhere. It gets easier. Okay, when you raise capital, it gets easier from one deal to the next because people see a track record. You've planted a seed before. So if you are struggling or challenged right now, just trust the process and watch what's going on in the market. Like, this is a very exciting time, although scary at the same time. Go ahead, Jeff.
Okay, there we go. I was just curious, Alex, if you're seeing any of these people that are trying to put deals together that are having so much trouble with the raise or the syndication that they're just not getting their deals done. Is that happening quite a bit now?
Oh yeah, tons of deals are falling through.
Wow.
I personally have a deal that might fall through right now. So it is the game itself, and it's stressful, but you learn. You build emotional fortitude. You learn every single time. If you can take something away from it that is life changing, then that deal served its purpose.
Is this going to stop you from doing another deal, or you're not going to do a deal for a while because of that?
No, I'm still looking. I'm still looking at. I know exactly what I'm looking at and where I'm looking, though. So It's the Vegas downtown area. I'm not personally investing into any properties outside of Vegas right now. But I have the liquid money I have, I'm putting up to invest into things that I really believe in. Okay, so that's kind of the when you fall, this is part of the game, right? Like, know that if you didn't close a deal and you lost some money or whatever, know that that's what it took for you to be able to do the next deal that is meant for you to do. You wouldn't have that. I wouldn't be where I am if I didn't lose all my money in the restaurant business. I would probably still be some jerk at a getting tables in casinos or in the clubs and stuff like that. And I don't know where I would be, but I had to lose everything to find myself. To realize that my calling is really to serve people. That if I was able to come back from this, I went there. And one of my biggest things I want to do is work with teens. Teens are aging out of foster homes and kids are being rescued from human trafficking. I believe that wherever they are, there is a way for them to literally immediately change their operating system to go from victim to empowerment, from disempowerment to empowerment, right? In the way that they think about their past and the stories. And if we have programs and we have the support system, like, that is going to be amazing. All right. So yes, children with disabilities, like, I love working with teens and kids. I feel like it's just a calling for me. And for the kids that are like, coming from foster homes that they aged out and they no longer have a place to stay or whatever. When I lost my restaurant, and being in that business, I was $450,000 in debt with a 400 credit score. Okay, so financially, tangibly, I was in a worse condition than any of these kids are in when they come back to this space. And if I was able to go from that to building multi-million-dollar business and real estate, right? That's in 6 years. That means there's a way to do it. And there's probably a way to do it in a much shorter time. So I'm just so committed to teaching and sharing so that, I don't know, people tell me like, oh my God, the one thing you shared, and I don't even remember, that kind of changed their perspective. So I just hope that, I do a lot of talking and I just hope something lands somewhere, right? I don't even care. Like, I'm not concerned about how many people I like personally impact. But I just want to know that that's what I'm doing every day. I wake up in the morning, that I'm going to contribute to the healing of the world. And that is my like mantra when I wake up in the morning. And so that's, that's just kind of how I roll. So there was a question about crypto. I keep forgetting to go to it. Okay, so crypto. Here's another conversation. So let's go to the core. What is blockchain, right? All crypto kind of works inside blockchain. Like, they're all kind of some kind of contract that does this and it helps you transfer this and this to information, whatever. All the crypto coins have their own thing. But basically, at the core of it, crypto and blockchain is like a way that we're supposed to be doing contracts, smart contracts. All right. Now, I think when this whole thing came out, I think all of it is a test to see how well people adopt to digital currency. I think it's starting to adopt on the mass level, right? I don't know. I mean, people push the Bitcoins up and down and up and down. BlackRock's buying it. Of course, when BlackRock buys it, it goes to $72,000 a coin. But who's willing to buy it at $72,000 a coin? That's the question, right? And so I think crypto as a whole is like a smokescreen, and it's also a possibility for what can be in the future. All right, so I don't think Wall Street or the funds or anybody wants you to demand from them to be using blockchain ledgers. Okay, because if they were on blockchain ledgers, every transaction, every contract is recorded, and any changes shows the change, right? So now there is paper trail for everything. You think Wall Street and then they want that? They probably invented the Doge coins out there just to create some kind of smokescreen and distraction. So when people hear crypto, they're like, when they hear blockchain, they go to crypto. They're like, oh, what? No, none of that for me, right? People are like literally traumatized from it. But blockchain itself, we're going to use it in our funds. Like our product is every transaction, everything is in a ledger. I can't just go and add zeros and take zeros away and be like, it's all good, which is what BlackRock and Wall Street tells you. It's all good. And then some other thing happens, right? And then everybody else gets, all of the top level guys get paid, and everyone else kind of suffers. But if we were able to follow the trail of money, like as individual investors, if me, you know, as an investor, say, hey, Wall Street, BlackRock, before I give you my 401k money, please make sure that you're using a ledger, a blockchain ledger. And if enough people demands it, the way they conduct business across the world is going to change. You know, so we're creating a fund that is literally going to be that. Every single transaction, from the main master fund to all the fund of funds to every fund involved in it, blockchain ledger. I want that level of transparency and accountability, right? I want that level of accountability on me, because if I start working with trillions of dollars, I've never worked with that number before. So when it gets there, I don't want anything to ever change me. And I want everyone to hold me accountable to it, because sometimes we're tempted by bad shit. All right. So the reason why I'm able to, you know, make these calls all the time, I do my Course in Miracles call, I do these calls, and it doesn't even use an ounce of my energy, because I know people are showing up. You guys pull me to this call. I don't even need to use any of my own willpower, let's call it. So thank you guys for being here and talking and having this conversation here today, or just letting me ramble. I hope I'm rambling and providing value at the same time. But I would love to hear more of what you guys think, any questions you have. You know, it's always great to share and talk. And in about 7 minutes, I'm going to break you guys out into separate rooms where your question that you're going to answer in the room is, what is my yes, A Course in Miracles, what is my unreasonable ask? Okay, and then after you state it, we're gonna give, like, somebody be like time and give like 20 to 40 seconds for everyone else to kind of chime in and bounce some ideas on that. So for example, if I was like, you know, I'm looking for a sponsor for an event that we're doing, it's $50,000. That's my unreasonable ask. Everyone else in the room could be like, oh, well, you know, you can do this, let's connect here, boom. All right, so I want to give you guys a chance to do that. I think it'll be really cool. To just jump in and ask for something unreasonable and let the universe provide for you. Yeah, sure, Kalina, I can share how I came back from that. But if anybody else does not have any questions around Bankonomics, interest rates, deals itself, the economy, Kalina had asked, like, once I lost everything, how did I come back? I can share that also. Okay, go ahead, Rachel. You got to unmute. Yeah.
Oh, did I mute?
You're good. You're
Okay,
good.
I'm unmuted. Okay. I'm going to start with a simple question. If I had a deal that I didn't have a signed LOI and I needed funding to back that deal to get the LOI accepted, who would I call, Alex?
So what are they asking for, proof of funds in
Yeah.
order to give you the deal?
Hmm.
First of all, anybody that asks you for proof of funds, they just don't believe you can do the deal. So that's the number one thing. You haven't sold yourself enough where you let them dictate the questions. Right? When I go and have a conversation with a broker, by the end of the conversation, they don't even ask me if I have proof of funds. They are excited to share the deal with me. They're like, "Oh my God, here, all the financials, da, da, da." They're excited to give it to me. So you have to be able to tell your story in a way that they're like, oh yeah, she's we're confident she can do something, right? I mean, I might not be, I probably don't know if I can just, if I'm looking at $100 million deal and they're like, hey, can we see proof of funds? I'm be like, no, I can't. But if I paint myself in a way and my partners in a way, and we talk about some of the deals that have been done as a collective, it answers their concerns. And they won't even ask you that. So I think number one is to recognize that that's what happened. Okay. So number two, if they're asking for proof of funds, how big is the deal?
2.1. It's not multifamily, it's something different. So I really can't get into specifics.
Okay,
but
no problem.
yeah.
So $2.1 million deal, they're going to ask you to show like what, $700,000, $800,000 for proof of funds?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that means you get to find out who's willing to play that. A lot of people probably can play that role. Now, what are you going to give them? Right. So there are people out there that literally don't even move their money and they just show their bank accounts and they get percentages in deals. Zero risk.
Okay. Now that I know.
Yeah. So then that becomes a question. So here's your unreasonable ask when you break out into the rooms. Who can show proof of funds or who knows somebody that can? Right? Like, and then you give like 30, 45 seconds for people to give you suggestions and feedback. All right. So we're going to break people out into like 5. I don't like to do 5 because a lot of people just don't go to the rooms. Maybe like 6 people per room, Nick, when we do that. And then we'll just give everybody like 2 minutes, right? A minute to share and a minute for feedback from the rest of the group. So it could be really fun. If you guys, actually participate and don't leave or just leave, it's cool. It's for you. It's not for me. Okay. I really want you guys to get massive value for being here. You've spent the time to be here. Might as well, get a couple new connections because just maybe what you are looking for resides in somebody in this room. Please share more with me, A Course in Miracles. Nick, can you grab the link for A Course in Miracles and stick it in the chat? A Course in Miracles is where I bring the 5D or the spiritual into the physical world. So I actually pull the card from my A Course in Miracles Miracle Everyday card, right? So I'm kind of like a tarot card person right now. And I will read to you guys what you guys are meant to hear right now. Okay, here's for all of you guys. Let me remember what my purpose is. Child of God, you were created to create the good, the beautiful, and the holy. Do not forget this. You were created to create the good, the beautiful, and the holy. That is your purpose. So we can do that in the real estate space. We can buy real estate deals and focus on the experience that the tenants have. Right? Focus on helping your investors make money. Too many people are trying to close deals from I need this acquisition money because I've been working so hard and I need to be in this deal, like from a scarce place, right? But when we come from the good, the beauty, and the holy, this is what we're here to do, right? I'm meant to be in this deal for the relationships that are available here with me, right? There's no accidents. There's no accidents in God's plan for who you're meeting, right? No accidents that all of us are sitting here on this call. Whatever we heard today, whatever resonated with you. I hope that, we continue to have these Monday night calls, for a long, long time and invite people to it. Would do it every single Monday. Cool. So anyways, any other questions before I give you guys the opportunity to go and network and connect? Going once, going twice. All right, so we're gonna break you guys out into rooms of 6. Remember, my unreasonable ask is this blank, and then you guys give like 45 seconds to give feedback, and then we'll come back here afterwards and share.